Short me $70,000 in violation of our written agreement? It'll cost you $1.8 million. Disclaimer: the names and some of the situations have been changed to protect the identities, but the dollars and general nature of the situation is completely true. Background: a year out of school in the early 1990s, I procured a job as a business analyst for a large, family-owned tech company. This business was located in the booming heart of technology at the time and was very profitable. As tech took off over the next decade, the company thrived and remained family-owned. What was a rich family and company became exceedingly wealthy with a valuation/net worth in the high 9/low 10 figures. The family that owned it was quite neurotic, very moody, and had a reputation as very ruthless, greedy, when it came to financing, deal-making, employees, etc. I truly believe this is what held them back from ultimately becoming a household name as a company. As I progressed in the company, I gained more and more face time with the owners. I worked on some projects directly with ownership that really paid off and gained me even greater access to their inner circle. Now, like a lot of people at the time, and particularly those who worked in tech, I was heavily invested in tech stocks. I discussed some of my investments and gains with ownership as casual conversation, though investing had nothing to do with my role in the company. That is until one day in late 1999 when the owner came to me and asked me if I would invest some of his personal money. He wanted me to take big risks to see if they would pay off using $1 million of his personal money. I was a bit hesitant, but still being in my late 20s and wanting to prove myself, I said I would. I asked for a written agreement where they acknowledged this wasn't my role in the company, was a personal matter between the owner and me, and to document my compensation for this side arrangement, 20% of all profits. Around this same time, and by working in the industry, I started to notice the weakness associated with a lot of tech companies. They just weren't living up to their hype and stock price, and some seemed like they were starting to run out of money. I had no inside information, just a strong sense of which companies were struggling based on my work in the business. Based on this sense, I started using both my money and the owner's money to short tech companies just after the new year in 2000. For anyone unfamiliar with shorting, it means if the value of a stock decreases, the value of the investment increases. I had a few long positions, but my overall position was very short. Since the owner wanted big risk and big reward, I used his money and obtained leverage or margin from the financial institution where I maintained both his and my trading accounts. The accounts were separate, but both under my name. Again, I documented this and gained consent. Well, both my account and his suffered some moderate losses in the first 2 months of 2000 before the bubble began to burst, and both accounts, but his in particular, began to skyrocket. Ownership's pettiness. In June, the company began to suffer a downturn. We were still profitable, but since we provided tech services and products, we were not immune to weakness in the broader market. I had not informed the owner of my short strategy. He came to me one day and asked how his money was doing, saying he suspected it was way down like the general market. To his surprise, I informed him that while we still had some money tied up in options, puts, and shorts, but based on the positions I had closed, there was $1.35 million in cash sitting in the account that belonged to him. Again, I still had a bunch of open positions which, if memory serves, were worth about $1 million on that date. But the positions I had closed had yielded $1.35 million in cash just sitting in his account, which was in my name. The owner, either through ignorance or lack of attention, said, "Great, $1.35 million. Fantastic work in this down market. Will you please wire it to me?" I responded that I would, but would be taking my 20% of the $350,000 profit, or $70,000, before wiring him the $280,000. I also reminded him I still had open positions that had yet to pay off or close, but I didn't state the amount. He, once again, appeared not to understand or comprehend the open positions statement, but instead totally focused on and became incensed about my rightful claim for $70,000. He went on and on about how times were tough, I should be grateful for a job, particularly at my young age, and the entire $350,000 was necessary for him and the company. I knew this wasn't true based on my position within the company. Worse, this was my first time personally experiencing the greedy and corrupt nature that served as the basis for ownership's reputation. Now comes the revenge. Since, after 2 separate conversations, the owner didn't seem to grasp that the open positions would yield at least some income, and thus additional profit, I decided not to mention it again. I sent him back the entire $1.35 million and continued to manage the open positions to the best of my ability. And here's the kicker. The owner never brought it up again. He seemed to think the $1.35 million payment was the entire value of the account and never understood or remembered that open positions still existed. He never asked for records, tax documents or any time of audit or financials. Given the fact that he was dishonest with me, I didn't feel the need to disabuse him of that notion. Ultimately, after a bit more net gain, I covered all of the shorts and exercised all of the options, puts in this case, for an additional $1.8 million. I worked for the company for 3 more years and owner never asked about it during my tenure, after I gave notice, or since. I know it's a bit crass and even shady as duck, but given his dishonesty with me over the $70,000, I felt justified in keeping the additional $1.8 million. I paid taxes on the gain, long-term cap gain, and went on my way with a fantastic nest egg. Nobody has asked about it since and I have only told the story to a few people. And even then only after the statute of limitations passed. The final ironic cherry on top of this sundae is that during my remaining 3 years I gained greater influence with ownership in position within the company, because they considered me loyal for giving the $1.35 million back and not making too much of a stink about the $70,000 profit. Little did they know I got the better of them. The company eventually folded due to family disputes, but my understanding is that ownership walked away in very good financial position. They likely could have been a much better and greater company had they not practiced the same dishonesty that they showed me with their vendors, clients and employees. Thanks for reading and hope you enjoyed. Now to the comments. I personally wouldn't post this no matter the time being passed. Why bother risking a loophole just for Reddit clout? His replies have all but straight out said all ownership parties are deceased. Can't get sued if no one is still alive to do it. Heirs can sue. ITT, lots of tomorrow's lawyers with specific knowledge about a 20-year-old case. Don't tell me how to lawyer. You're slandering me. And I put a lien on your house and car. Oh no. A lien, my only weakness. Please, might we settle for this upvote? Is it shady? I mean, it seems shady in general to have a money manager that isn't officially licensed or whatever, but you guys were consenting adults with an agreement. If I understand it correctly, the current account value was $1.35 million, and that's what you gave him. Perhaps had there been a real dispute over the $70,000 he would have forwarded the records to a real financial professional, who would explain to him the other potential gains. But he was happy with the current account value. And it seems like he was in a cash-strapped position personally. I'm always surprised at people who demand loyalty like this. Like, you're trying to explain to him how much more he could make, and he just won't hear it. I'm at a loss on how OP can wire $1.35 million cash from an account in their name to an account not in their name and not have to pay the taxes on those capital gains as well as the ones they kept. If the account was in their name when the securities were turned back into cash, they're on the hook for the taxes. Yeah, he would hands down have to pay the taxes on the $350K gain. Unless he deducted it from the total amount sent, but that's not how it reads. If this story is true, you should take this post the duck down because I imagine on the off chance you're caught it will be a shitstorm. OP did mention the statute of limitations has passed. Criminal maybe. But civil? With interest over 20 years? Startups and even established businesses taking advantage of quality workers costs them so much in the long run. Oh well, their loss. I liked the story, thanks for sharing. This is how we know the 2020 presidential election wasn't stolen. At least one of the hundreds of people required to make it happen would have posted about it on Reddit by now. For 3 people to keep a secret, 2 of them must die. To be clear, I do not believe in the stolen election hoax, but this argument against conspiracy has always been funny to me because this is not how top-secret operations are handled. Take the design of a, then, highly classified UAV for example. Only a small handful of people know the full design specifications of the aircraft. That small project management team will then compartmentalize the entire aircraft into smaller and smaller systems, until a sufficient level of granularity is achieved so that individual engineers can design their component of the aircraft without ever knowing what their part is for. Say your job is to design the stabilizing gyro system for the targeting system. You'll be given the necessary size/shape/attachment points for the device and nothing else. You'll work within these parameters and design your part. It could be a part of an aircraft, it could be a part of a land-based gyrocam, it could be a part of a satellite, it could be a part of new tank weapon system. Who knows? People are right that it's impossible to keep a secret operation secret if dozens of people, or even thousands, know about it. But that's not how classified information is handled. Everything is compartmentalized until only the few most critical members of the operation knows what is going on. Most people involved have no idea what it is they're working on.